Oh, it's all good, man.
All right, so uh, this time there's no weird introduction. So yeah, I mean, what's up?
What is up, indeed? Um, did you get some crazy rain in London this weekend?
Yesterday was pretty crazy. There was a tornado warning, and
Mm,
my sister was driving somewhere, but I think the tornado warning happened, and then we weren't sure if she was going. But then it cleared up in half an hour. It was just like pouring a lot randomly, kind of like in bursts, and then it just stopped.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting because, like, I think I'm not sure if my memory is at its best, but I thought like rain, like back when we were growing up, um, it was more consistent. Like it wasn't like as it is now, where it's just like when it rains, it's like a heavy downpour, and then it stops after like 15, 30 minutes. I thought it was more consistent like years ago. Does that ring a bell to you, or maybe I'm misremembering?
No, I remember like when it used to rain, it used to be for like an hour or two, and it would just be like it wouldn't be
I feel like a
so
drizzle.
intense. It would just be raining, and I'd leave the window
Yeah,
open and just smell the air and just
yeah.
hear the patter of the water on the concrete. But yeah, now that you mention it, I don't remember when there was like a long rainfall.
Right. It seems like
Yeah,
it's always been like very bursty these recent years.
yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, the storms are moving quickly, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no meteorologist, but you're right. I think there's something interesting happening about the the cloud fronts moving across each other.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of times it rains overnight because you see the ground is wet in the morning, and yeah, so that's weird too. But I don't know if that's a regular thing or that's a new thing. As far as I've been here in Canada, it's in London specifically. Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I guess like there's probably some people somewhere measuring that. It's kind of like it's not something you really think about until someone like posts some news about it. Kind of like how I think it was last year, or maybe it was like late 2018. I remember seeing an article from researchers in Germany saying that there's a very notable decrease in insect biomass in the world. And the way
Oh,
they did that was I think they had traps set up in the forest to measure like the insect activity, and they noticed over their years that there's a noticeable like 10% decrease in insect activity, or something like that. And so that was like they extrapolated that to like if Germany's a reasonable if these like measurement sites across Germany for insect activity are representative of the country, and they've done good measurement and it can be applied through the rest of the world, that corresponds to like a double digit drop in insect biomass. And it's interesting because their results were kind of corroborated by some people in the US that uh, measured insect biomass or insect activity on highways, essentially, or country roads. And the way they would do that is just like driving their cars down these country roads and then measuring the insect splatters on their vehicles. Yeah.
that's a good
So
way to measure
it's,
it because you're always going to get hit by bugs on the windshield.
yeah.
Man,
Yeah. I mean,
I
if you're
remember
going from,
specifically I was talking to Mike, a friend of ours, on the phone when he was driving on the highway. He just got on, and for the 30 minutes that we talked, every 2 minutes I kept hearing, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Man, there's so many insects hitting the windshield right now.
Yeah, it's a weird strategy, but it got the job done.
Yeah, but that is weird that they're measuring in Germany and in the US that well, they're, that, I don't know if it's based on measurements, they're either, I guess, concluding or extrapolating that the insect biomass in those two places and possibly the world have reduced. Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
weird, but I mean, I don't know why that would be. Um, I mean, could it be because there are like more animals uh, living in farms than in the wild? I mean, this is complete speculation because I have no idea. I don't know anything about farming or wildlife, but that could be something.
Hmm. Yeah, I think if we had to attribute like one general cause, it'd probably be human intervention in the forms of maybe like, I guess, land development for
Oh yeah,
for for human resources like cities, agriculture, tearing up like forests and stuff. But the other aspects, and that kind of leads into like climate change overall. So like here, every year we're just getting new record record temperatures for being hot in the summer and so on. So that probably has a factor to play in there too.
yeah. I mean, you know, kind of like the change in the volume of rain here in London, Ontario. I used to remember there used to be less like insanely hot days. And I remember as a kid I'd go out and play all the time, and I don't think it was ever like so hot that you couldn't play. I mean, I'm sure there were days, but I don't know if if I'm accurately remembering the temperature of my childhood or if it's like colored by my memory of it. But it seems to
Yeah,
me that
I mean,
it's hotter now, like more humid, more days that are more humid than in the past, like 20 years ago.
yeah, I mean, like even when we were in high school, like 10 years ago, we just look at like the amount of times it felt like low 40s. Like back then, it was like a rare occasion to get low 40s. Nowadays, it's like common, uncommon to hit low 40s.
Yeah, I guess this is really easy to verify because I'm sure records must be there online somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, I haven't looked at it, but that would be cool to look at.
Yeah, just gotta
So I'm
look in
just
the
making a
data.
note. Yeah, I'm just making a note. I don't know if I'm ever going to look at it, but if it's written down, I'm more likely to do so.
Good call, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So I texted you yesterday that I finished book 3 of The Expanse.
That's hype.
Okay. So, first thing, I started reading this book without the intention of reading only a chapter a day. So I ended up reading the whole thing in 3 days.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
It was a very fast, fast, I guess, discussion of like, oh
oh,
yeah, maybe I'll check it out. And then now you messaged me yesterday saying that you finished it. So I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you saw the similarities to Spin and that you'd
yeah.
enjoyed those similarities.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. I was just reading basically the whole day, except for, you know, shopping or eating or sleeping. And yeah, it was intense. I don't know. I'm sure I won't remember most of it a week from now, but the good thing is I enjoyed the ride. It was like watching like a 24-hour movie. I'm sure that's how much time I spent at least reading. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, That's good. Yeah, you blasted through it, and now you're all primed to watch season 3 of The Expanse, which
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, and the opinion of fans on IMDb, um, is the best season of the series so far.
Now, have you read any of the books?
I have not. No.
Okay. So, yeah, I looked at the wiki page, and on there they have a timeline of the TV series, the
Versus the
books,
books.
and the novellas and short stories. And so, season 3, according to that page, has parts of the story from book 2 and all of book 3, if I remember correctly. So the end of season 3, I believe, is matches up with the end of book 3.
Yeah.
And the story from book 3 starts at episode 6 in season 3. So,
yeah.
Assuming that the season is around 12 or 13 episodes, they fit the whole third book in 6 or 7 episodes. So I'm expecting a lot of characters or storylines not to be included in the actual TV series, but I don't think that's a problem. It's basically like 2 different stories. I mean, that's the way I look at it. It's same characters, different stories, similar plot points. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited because some of the stuff I've read, you have a visual in your head when you read, but then when you see it, it's like, whoa.
Definitely. Yeah, I think. Yeah, um, the midway point through season 3 was extremely well done, and same thing for the end of season 3. Just like I think the second book's like Caliban's War, right?
Yep.
Or yeah, so the end of Caliban's War in the TV series was just like it was pretty sick, and yeah, I don't want to say too much more. It's just like it, if you enjoyed the books so far, you've enjoyed seasons 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Season 3, man, that's where it's at.
Yeah, I'm excited. Um, yeah,
It's
I'm
like,
watching. Yeah, go
oh no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm watching Iron Fist right now,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
season 1. So I'm gonna wait till that's over. I have a couple episodes left, and then after that, I might watch Baki, the newest
Oh
season.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Evan's on Evan's suggestion.
Yeah, I think you were there when we all started watching it with Evan at my place.
Yeah, I do remember. It
Yeah,
was
the only reason I want to watch it is because then I feel the need to keep going on with the story. I don't know if I actually want to watch it, but there's like, well, I started it, I might as well finish it.
so the sunk cost fallacy.
That's how I live my life, Davis.
It's
Yeah, I mean, it's not great in most things. So, for example, let me think of an example. Actually, no. I think I'll make the opposite case. It works well for me in most cases. So, for example, if I look at running, the more time I put into running, the more I want to keep it going. So I find it's a benefit for me because you keep moving, stay active. So I kind of use it to my advantage to build habits that are harder to break because you're already making it into a habit. But it doesn't work so well with TV shows and stuff. For example, I still remember I never finished watching this anime called, I believe it was called Persona Trinity Soul. It's like a 24 episode anime based on the video game, I think. I was
shit.
14
Oh
episodes
yeah.
in and I stopped it. I remember a bunch of these animes and shows that I never finished, like Trinity Soul, Hero Tales, The D Gray Man.
Mm.
So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go back and watch it, but I remember that I never finished it.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about those is that you can always go back to them and see. Um, that reminds me of something that I did recently, in that a friend recommended to me, um, I think like first year university, 2011, where he suggested to watch The Wire. You heard of that
Mm.
series?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, also would recommend. But
Oh.
I watched like I think the first season that year, and then I think I watched the first season again like 2 years later, and like 2 episodes of season two, and then only just this year did I finish all the seasons of the show, all 5 seasons.
And how does that feel that you're finished after 9 years?
In the making. It's crazy, man. It like I can understand why people say like season four of The Wire is like one of the best TV seasons of anything of all time. It's just so good, and like the whole series itself is just it's it's like mind-boggling how much thought and care has been placed into this series to reflect the real world.
Okay, so give me a synopsis of the series, like what it's about, and then why season 4 was so great. And don't worry about spoilers. I mean, I'll probably forget it.
Yeah, so I guess season so The Wire is about crime in Baltimore and the police involved there. So that's like it in a nutshell. Police versus criminals. At first, it's the police versus like a drug empire within the city that's just like not very well known. It's run by a kingpin named Barksdale, and until this one detective, brought it to the attention of his superiors, no one knew Barksdale was running this this vast network of drug supplies and sellers in West Baltimore. So eventually, they have enough evidence to set up a wire on, hence the name of the show, on
Okay.
Barksdale's property, so they're able to get more information. So it's it's interesting because you see the cat and mouse game of police versus the criminals, but you also see a lot of like side characters that are not they're kind of like bystanders, or just like they're affiliated with the cops or affiliated with the criminals. You can see how they live their lives,
Mm.
and there's a lot of care and development that goes into these interactions that really like they really make you feel, I guess, and
Okay.
in ways that The Expanse really tugs at the emotion too. And season four was, I guess, really special because the way that a lot of character arcs like coincided and like concluded in some cases.
Okay.
I don't want to go into too much more detail because they're like to truly appreciate season four, you would have to watch like seasons one, two, and three. But um, yeah, I would still say I think The Wire is probably up there in terms of like Western TV. It's up there with like Breaking Bad. Like Breaking Bad is one of the best series of all time, in my opinion, too.
Mm.
And I would rank The Wire up there as well.
Okay, so I haven't seen either of those shows, and I know that's like a terrible thing, but whatever.
I would say like Breaking Bad and The Wire are like FMA Brotherhood to anime.
Whoa. Wait, what? Can you explain that?
In the way that FMA Brotherhood is a fantastic piece of anime.
Oh, okay. I don't know, man. I wasn't like blown away by FMA. I mean, it was pretty good, but I don't know, I wouldn't say it was like my top series, but now that I say that, I'm trying to think what would be a great series. Uh,
Baki.
that's definitely not at the top in my opinion. Uh, the first thing that comes to mind is season 1 of Attack on Titan. That was pretty dope.
Okay. Wait,
And I
do
haven't
we?
seen the rest of it.
Oh shit! Actually, that
Oh no,
is
I'm missing out. Am
season
I missing out?
three of Attack on Titan. I'm not sure if I mentioned you this, but like it season three of Attack on Titan was one of the best seasons of any anime I've watched. Like
Oh my god.
2 episodes in particular, Hero and the one that precedes Hero, are just so good. And the music for them, it really gets you going. Like
Okay.
it's the culmination of so many things.
Okay. Uh, yeah. I mean, what can I say? It's on my list to watch, but I just haven't got to
It's a
it.
long list, man. But
Yeah,
you
it
know,
just keeps getting bigger. Yeah.
you crunched third book in 3 days. You know, who knows?
No, no, no. I mean, it can happen that I'm gonna end up binging a whole season, but I'm actively putting
Control.
in some habits so that that becomes less and less likely. So
Mm-hmm.
one way I do that is, I watch 1 or 2 episodes per day, or in FMA. In that case, it was like 3 episodes, and then at most on one day 7 episodes. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I would say Attack on Titan season 1 was really dope, and there was this other anime called I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna say Durarara. Have you heard of it?
I don't think so. What's the premise like? Maybe I'll recognize the story.
Well, it's from what I remember, and I watched it maybe a decade ago. Um, it's about 2 friends. I think they're probably in middle school or high school, and they get involved in some type of gang war in the city. And then they're trying to figure out who's leading the gang and who's leading the crime. It's more interesting than that. Because I just like I remember I like the visuals. It was very like neon feels, bright lights, contrasting colors. And then
Okay,
at the
cool.
end, the story kind of wrapped up nicely. How like all the characters kind of fit together. Um, so basically, the story ends so that when I watch it again, if I watch it again, I'll remember the end, and then you kind of see how it got set up. That's the feeling I get. I don't know if it's an accurate statement to make, um, but so for example, I just rewatched the movie Shutter Island.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Have you seen it?
Nope.
Okay, well that's the same thing. Like at the end of the story, you figure out that everything was leading to that point. Then when you rewatch it, you can kind of see the setups. It's that kind of vibe.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it. That's a sign of a job well done, I guess. Right. Like you're able to just like be enraptured in the journey of the story, and then like upon rewatch, like you can see all the subtle steps that they provide you to reach that conclusion, even if like it wasn't immediately apparent, but upon rewatch it was.
Yeah, it's cool because when you don't know what's going on, you're caught up in the mystery of it. Like, oh, what's gonna happen next? What's this guy doing? But then when you know how it ends, you're rewatching the whole thing, and you're thinking, oh, that's why this guy said that. But a lot of movies might be like that, but some movies have so many of those points that it's a
Yeah,
great rewatch.
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah. Um, yeah, to kind of wrap that up. Yeah. So The Wire is about police versus criminals and a wire. That's what I got out of that.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
I
guess
know
like,
it. Yeah, go ahead.
well, it's about it's it's really about the people in Baltimore trying to deal with their lives, like
Mm,
people in the police, innocent bystanders, people affiliated with the drug or with the criminals, but they don't want to be the criminals
mm.
themselves, and how they try and reconcile what they need to do, like what they need to do to to get a living. Like politicians are involved there too. You have the newspaper. Each season, The Wire too covers a different aspect of society. So like the first
Okay.
season's like the drug trade. Second season's about like marital transportation, maritime transportation. So bringing all of the cargo containers.
Okay.
And season five is like newspaper stuff and yeah, lots of other things in between, politics as well.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah. So The Expanse is going on, and still looking for work. I haven't read the that picture you sent me yet, but that's on my list of things to do. Also.
You want to read it together
Uh,
now? It's pretty
yeah.
short.
Sure. Sure. Let me see if I can share the screen on this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. Um, Let me open it. Okay. Okay. So. mm, oh, okay. Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll just read it out loud.
Mhm.
Uh, my client just landed an offer with a 30,000 plus raise. It took her less than 2 months in spite of a global pandemic. Here's how she did it. First, she made a list of target companies and found 150 contacts who could refer her in. That's a lot of contacts. Two, she emailed each and every contact. She made the outreach about them, and she followed up with anyone who didn't reply. She booked virtual coffees and did rigorous prep and research on both the company and her contact. During the conversation, she focused on her contact by asking questions about the team's biggest challenges, current initiatives, and 6-month goals. Then she took a consultative approach by probing into challenges, chatting through problems, and offering up ideas and solutions. After the virtual meetup, she kept the conversation going over email, always aiming to provide value and insight in her notes. A few weeks later, her contact emailed her and said, "We have a role opening up. Based on our conversations, I think you'd be perfect." Her contact referred her into the role and sent her resume to their boss. The interview process took 2 weeks, and boom, the offer was extended. No online apps, no ATS systems, just great relationship building and a value add approach. That's how you land a job in today's market. Okay, so in summary, you figure out where you want to work, you find people who work there, you contact those people, figure out what they're looking for in the company or about them, set up a, a meeting, whether it's a real coffee date or a virtual coffee date, ask about their work, goals, figure out what challenges they're working up, then follow up with them. And one of them is bound to follow up with you, set up an interview, and hopefully you get a job out of that.
Yeah. That's a good good summary, man.
That seems reasonable. I mean, it makes sense.
Seems a lot more interesting than just filling out online applications wantonly.
Yeah, I'm transitioning away from that. That's been my approach mostly since January this year. I think I must have submitted 50 applications so far in the last 6 months, and that's not an exaggeration. So that's been one approach where, once or every week I'm going to submit 2 or 3 applications on average to jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I was also, hitting up people I knew, like, hey, I see you're working here. Is there an opening? Can you forward my resume? Or, hey, you used to work at this other company. Do you know anyone there? And in some cases, people contacted me and said, hey, my company is hiring. Which job do you want to apply for? Here's the contact.
Nice.
But yeah, but all through that time, I never really considered exactly where, like which company to work for. Because my goal has always been, I want a certain type of job. That's
Mm-hmm.
becoming kind of less of a constraint nowadays because the longer you wait, the more likely you are to take any job, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's good advice. I'll figure out, you know, a bunch of companies, maybe 5 or 10 companies, figure out who works there, and then follow through with that process.
Nice, man. Yeah. Like it, at the very least, you'll be building out your contact network too, and maybe this won't lead to your next job, but it may lead to your next job. You know.
Mm, right. You're setting up checkpoints, kind of like in a video game. Go back to
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
previous save.
Yeah. That's a
Uh,
nice way of looking at it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good exercise because whether it works or not, at least I get to try a different approach. You get to build skills about cold contacting people and talking to strangers, which is valuable in any job if you're talking to a client or a potential customer. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for that.
No worries, man.
Okay, awesome. Oh, so what kind of exercises are you doing for your wrist injury?
It's mainly like rotation and flexion exercises to like make sure I'm keeping the tendon and connective tissues engaged. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to load them in moderate amounts every day. So essentially, that's going to be like trying to push my hand outward and resist it,
Okay.
or try and rotate my hand inwards and resist it, rotating up and
Okay.
down, and then like rotating like axially as well. And I do that with the loads as well. So I would just like grab some hooks, and then for lack of dumbbells, I would just like rotate them essentially,
Okay.
or just like do some wrist curls.
That's
And
the Ray Dalio book, isn't it? Ray, I don't remember. Is that the correct name? Ray
this,
Dalio, the
yes,
black one.
this
Yeah, I've seen.
this episode of Route Talk is sponsored by
No.
Bridgewater
It's not
Associates.
sponsored by. It is not sponsored by anybody. Yeah, I remember seeing that book cover, so I immediately thought, that looks familiar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think I mentioned to you because you had mentioned that you um, were in the habit of writing down your thoughts after each chapter of reading, or that's something you used to do. That's something I
Yeah.
try to do with principles, but it just made things too slow, and I stopped by chapter 8. I'll probably resume it, and then I'll write my thoughts down in less frequent amounts, or maybe I'll just do it over a few days instead of like every day.
Reread or just continue?
to continue. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, just like the first 8 chapters, anyways, are just like the early stages of his life, anyways. Up until like
Mm.
I think the first 10. Oh no, it does talk about his departure from Bridgewater as well, where he remains like a chair, but he's basically effectively retired.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably have to go
Yeah.
back into that book.
Um, yeah. So do you use like lacrosse balls at all? I've used those and they're awesome.
Those are good for yeah. I have lacrosse balls for soft tissue release and for juggling, and I've not used it for my hands per se. Um,
Okay.
they're good for like I guess like massaging muscle tissue, but there's not really much I can do with my hands, and they're not really. It's mainly my wrist that's giving me the issue, not nothing with my hands that I need to
Okay.
immediately fix.
Okay.
Yeah, basically like
Um,
right here on my wrist is like if I have like a strong pulling motion, like if I tried to do a pull up, I might feel too much pressure here.
okay. So is
Or
it
if I,
like torn or like how bad is the injury? Like is it a
I mean, I didn't
it's
I
not a
didn't
full
go.
tear, obviously.
Yeah, it's not a tear or anything like that. I haven't got it like imaged, so I don't know what the extent of the injury was, but based on the diagnostic treatments that my physio had done, just like kind of essentially pinching various areas of the tendon, going down from my wrist to my elbow, and just like checking the range of motion of my wrist and my arm.
Mhm.
And I say arm as well because more often than not, like an injury like this is indicative of perhaps elbow or shoulder issues as well.
Okay.
Um, so for me, that's kind of makes sense because I likely sustained this injury from paddling
Mm.
and typing for work.
Yeah.
But yeah, through the diagnostic treatments that my physio did, it seems like it wasn't anything too serious. It's just something that requires rest and moderation of load.
Okay. You got to build back your ability to lift heavy things, basically.
Yeah, in this case, lift heavy things is definitely out of the question. So it's just like, how do I get back there?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you. I mean, I've had a stiff lower back for years. Um, I probably had it back in high school when we did track and field. And anyway, I'm just trying to loosen everything up. So, um, if you have a stiff lower back, at least in my experience, you've got to loosen up everything around it. I do lunges, I do squats, calf raises. Um, I'm jogging 2 or 3 times a week. I'm trying to get into cycling as well, taking hot baths, doing yoga poses to stretch things out. And yeah, it's a process. I mean, like not it's not what I've learned is it's not as simple as just doing the exercise. You have to kind of manage your own tolerance to pain. Not only does the pain affect how willing you are to complete your set exercises, it also it'll affect your mood. So if you feel good, you might work out harder or longer, but when you're trying to work with pain, you've got to do it kind of responsibly so you don't overdo it. So I mean, I think it's all interesting. Pain aside, it's a great challenge and part of a healthy daily maintenance routine for me.
Yeah, that's good, man. And like, I guess my first thought there is that maybe some more like yoga would help with that
Mm.
because it's I guess like other things you could do. It's relatively low intensity, but there's a lot of benefits um, in increasing flexibility, range of motion, and it's very easily accessible too. You just need space and a yoga mat.
Yeah, I mean, I used to go to yoga classes up until September last year.
Yeah, I remember.
I stopped going because classes got busy, uh, or maybe I went until December. Anyway, I didn't go back starting in January because I started looking for work, and I didn't want to pay a full session and then lose out on like most of the money for the classes.
Yeah,
Then the coronavirus happened, so the yoga studio where I was going set up online Zoom yoga classes. But I'm not really about that. So for the time being, I'm just kind of taking what I learned over the year that I did the classes and applying it to my own exercise routine. It
yeah,
kind of works for me, and I know it's not optimal, but I think I can manage. It's definitely not making things worse. So I know I'm doing something correctly. Um, but yeah,
yeah.
that is the game plan. Once I feel safe to get out and go back into classes, and I also hopefully once I get a job, then I can expect to stay in that location for some time, enough time to commit to a few months of yoga classes.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I started drinking like whey shakes. You know, whey isolate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't doing that for a long time, but
Any particular
man, it
reason?
makes a huge difference. Like I was always exhausted after a workout, and now I'm not that exhausted after doing the workout and having a glass of water mixed with the powder. So I find that really has helped me too um, in recovery, and I think in strength too, because I can notice day to day that I can do more before I get tired.
That's good, man. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you measured your protein intake before you took the shake, but like if you're getting a serving of the whey isolate, then you're easily augmenting your diet with 20 to 25 grams of protein.
So this one's
That's
got 30,
there you
30
go.
per scoop. Damn.
Yeah. How much if you had to like ballpark estimate your protein intake before, like what was it?
Well, I don't have uh, numbers, but I can tell you I was having protein intake every day. So sources would be, milk when I make the coffee. My coffee is usually a latte, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Then a lot of peanuts, boiled peanuts, tofu every now and then, sometimes boiled eggs, a lot of like lentils and legumes and beans like chickpeas, kidney beans, stuff like that. Um, I think those were the big sources. So, but now it's all of that plus the whey isolate and and you know what's weird? What the great thing I noticed is that um, often I would like I've had trouble eating a lot for the longest time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean longest time like a few years, I guess. Because what would happen is I'd eat a large meal and then I'd feel like my stomach hurt, so I would stop eating. But what I'm noticing nowadays is some of that it's not actually my stomach. It's probably my abdomen. Um, so I don't know if this is accurate or this is how the body works, but it feels like when I drink in the shakes or eat like a a high protein meal, it's always followed by some kind of like abdominal pain, which is not really a pain, but it's like a soreness. So I'm guessing, the muscles or ligaments or whatever are kind of repairing themselves. That's my guess. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Well, I mean, it's good. It's good to hear that you're increasing your intake and you've already noticed some benefits in terms of recovery and capacity to do
Mhm.
work. It's great, man. Keep up
Yeah,
the good stuff.
yeah, man. It's awesome. Oh, okay. I didn't have a timer, so I don't know how much we've done. But anyway, anything you want to dive into?
Nothing in particular. No.
Have you used these things?
I I I've seen many Asian people, relatives, friends of relatives that have them at home. Yeah,
It's cool. I like doing it.
yeah. It's it's supposed to be therapeutic, meditative. Um, I used to try and do something that's tangentially related to that called body juggling. Um,
Okay, what is body juggling?
so body juggling uh, is essentially like where you have usually an acrylic ball because it's like see through,
Hmm.
and you're manipulating it with your hand as if you were juggling, but it never leaves your skin. So
Okay.
it's kind of like you do like the basketball spin on your finger, or like the basketball like you loop it around your arms and your chest kind of deal.
Okay.
But imagine all that with just like small lacrosse sized balls. So one of the
So are you just doing this, but you're not letting go of the ball?
not a kind of like um, I guess like the most simplest example that you could do is just like imagine you have a ball like resting on the back of my hand, and then you
Okay.
flip your hand up, the ball would go to the top of your hand, and then you like catch it on the palm of your hand, and you just like bring it back and forth, and that's like
Oh,
the
I've seen
most.
people do that. Yeah, I think I saw you do that. Did you do that at high school?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Okay, I remember.
um,
I think you must have used a tennis ball, maybe a lacrosse ball.
yeah. It's the entry level body juggling trick, and the other one that is um, is showcased is what you're doing with those like meditation balls, is where like you have two balls in your hand and you're just like rotating them around your hand. So
Yeah,
but when you rotate, you don't really just like you don't curl your fingers, it's just like it's like tiny manipulations in your hand, and
yeah.
with these tiny manipulations you're able to move the balls around your hand very quickly.
Mm.
Yeah,
Kind of like how people do the thing with
yeah, exactly.
just
Yeah.
can't do it.
um, the but it's really impressive when you see people like manipulate three or more balls in one hand, and it's just like it goes around in like a cyclone. It's very cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. That is cool. That's awesome. So you can do that with how many balls? One, two, three?
I mean, I haven't done it in years, but I was trying to. I could barely do three in like a somewhat rough looking transition. Like I could do
Okay.
it. It just didn't look as pretty as other people could do
Mm. So you would say you were balling.
it. You could say that.
You weren't just balling. You were triple balling.
Triple balling. That's right. That's right.
That
I
would be
was
a
quadruple
great.
balling
Whoa. I don't.
with
Come on, Davis. Don't lie.
with normal juggling though.
Oh, okay. I can do one ball with normal juggling.
A mono balling.
Well, I mean, you could call it Uniball, but I think that's a trademark taken by Pens.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, I just brought that up because that might be good for your wrist too. Because I know I feel it on the outside of my wrist all the time, or
yeah,
maybe not the wrist, but like, the fat part of your palm on the thumb. I feel
yeah,
it there.
uh,
Like I feel it
yeah, uh,
here and here, basically.
yeah. Actually, you have a point. Like um, doing, I guess, an external flexion and then submitting some load is kind of like what I do already to treat my palm injury.
Hmm.
But doing with the balls is also another application of that.
Yeah. Plus, this feels fun. Like, I mean, if I'm just doing this with books, it's kind of like okay, but this is my personal opinion, but this is like, ooh, makes a sound.
That's true. That's true.
You can pretend you're an
Uh,
anime character, just like this.
contemplating contemplating the next battle.
You're just like chilling like this, being all serious, and then when your opponent doesn't pay attention, you just throw one at their face. But this is heavy. You'll probably like crack someone's skull. You got to be careful.
Yeah, yeah. Those balls are not light.
Yeah, man. Oh, I'm getting exhausted. Um,
What time do you normally sleep these days?
11:30, 12. I mean, I'm only exhausted because I'm trying to think of things to talk about. It's like it's kind of like you're putting on a show, but not really because we already know each other. But at the same time, it's like
It's
it's
Route
being
Talk
recorded.
episode 2.
I'll talk number two. Davis Lee, number two, I guess. You're the star of the first two episodes.
No, man, I'm just a recurring guest. I'm a side character in this main story.
Yeah, if we were in the Expanse, you would be that guy in season one that was trying to sneak on the ship and then ended up
Oh,
on Arrows. And
that
we all know what happens. What happens on Arrows,
stays
you
on
don't
Arrows.
leave. It stays on Arrows. Yeah.
True,
Oh man.
true.
Um, yeah. So how's your journaling going?
It's been good. I guess I've been procrastinating on that a little bit ever since my um, I guess my I don't want to say epiphany, but my how do I want to say it?
Realization.
Yeah, I guess you could say that because the reason why I was journaling so frequently before was to process my thoughts about TIFF, and I've reached since then, since I stopped journaling, like I've reached like a level of Zen that that I guess like I don't really think about journaling as much, but I should keep it up because it's a good
Okay.
habit. But like yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
we talked about that offline, so you don't have to go into any detail, which is fine. But um, yeah, I mean, if journaling kind of served your purpose already, there's no use in really going back because you did it for a purpose, and the
Well,
purpose is kind of gone, isn't it?
that's true, but I mean, like it can be it can be an ongoing thing. Um, yeah, it's just it's good to reflect in some active way. I think
I see.
active, like it's sure you can be in your own head and think about things, but I'm not sure. For me, that doesn't work super well. But if I talk to people or if I like write things down, then I feel like you know um, I could do things more effectively. It's kind of like back in school, like you could memorize the equations and apply them, but it's just a lot easier if you can just like, you know, all your constraints and all your given information, and then you just like write the equations on a piece of paper and then solve the problem.
Mm.
So something like that. Like you can do it all
Yeah,
theoretically in your head, but for me, I feel like I'm more effective if I can actually write things down.
yeah. It's like you can either cram all the equations in your head for a test and figure it out while you're doing it, or you do a bunch of test problems, figure out how to solve things, and you build up a routine of, hey, this is how I'm going to approach this problem. These are the constraints. This is how I feel. This is what I want to do. This is what's stopping me. If I write it all out, it's easier to map out a path forward than it is to just have it all jumbling in your head and you're just like bouncing back and forth like you're playing.
Ping
Is it
pong.
called pong or ping pong? No. That's that.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I do that sometimes too. When you write it out, you're kind of things become a little more clear sometimes.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, speaking of that, um, I wrote a blog post about how I almost got in a car accident, and I would
Shit.
love to read that for you.
Well, I'm glad to hear you that you're okay.
Yeah, my sister was pretty upset, um, and you'll understand why once I read this. Okay, so well, as you know, I have a blog. I'm going to share the screen to the page, and here we go. Share. So, can you see the screen?
Yeah,
Right. So,
it's a nice drawing.
it's funny. Um, I basically drew it out because I don't know. That kind of helps me um, process
Remember the
things.
incident? Yeah.
Yeah, because like when you're in an incident, it's intense, but then when you're out of it, you might just remember the intensity and not the situation itself. Anyway, so this is how it goes. A few weeks ago, I was nearly involved in a vehicle collision. I was so shook. The almost collision was a good reminder to stay alert even with over a decade of driving experience. See the diagram below for the full scenario. That's how you know that you're an engineer or you've studied engineering.
Yeah.
Second clue that you studied engineering is the caption for the diagram, even though you said see the diagram below. So the caption for this diagram is a diagram showing my almost vehicle collision. Is it redundant? Absolutely. Um, so basically, I was this green car trying to turn left into, I guess it was a shopping plaza, and there was a opposing traffic. This pickup truck wanted to do a U-turn, but that's not a designated left turn. And are you able to see the mouse on the screen?
Yeah, I can see your mouse too.
Okay, so basically, it's not an actual left turn because there's no entry on the right side. So I can safely assume the driver wanted to do a U-turn. So I'm in a left turn lane. This driver prompts me to come forward, and I'm uncertain, but I still do it because that's a dumb thing to do. So I'm inching forward, and once I get to the end of the lane, I see another pickup truck, which is this red box, speeding toward me. As soon as I see it, I hit the acceleration and then enter the plaza. But I missed, like, the collision didn't happen by so little. Um, my sister was in the passenger seat at the time. So as soon as we finished the turn, she said something like, "Whoa, bro, I could have died." And it's true. And yeah, that was the intense collision. Um, and there's more text on that post, but I basically summarized that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's scary, man. Like anything anything involving cars can be quite scary, right? Like thousands of pounds of metal around
Mm.
you going like if you're going over like 20 kilometers an hour, then there's potential for fatal, like pretty serious injury for anyone involved, right? So
Yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
actually moving, especially if you're trying to accelerate through a turn, or that pickup was trying to just like go 60 in a 50 zone or something like that.
Mm.
It's risky stuff.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So, I mean, drawing a diagram helped me out in that situation. So, yeah, but it was intense. Like, as soon as I finished the turn, I think there's an expression, and my heart dropped. I know what that means now. Like, have you ever had that feeling where all of a sudden you're just like, kind of, you feel it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
it's intense.
Yeah. Well, geez. But I mean, you were able to reflect on it and get a nice blog post as well.
It's all about the blog post. I did the whole thing just so if I survived, I could do a blog post. That was the whole point.
Just for content.
Yeah. No, not true. Absolutely not true. But, but if it does happen, it's great content. I mean,
Be ashamed
so
not to capitalize on it.
yeah, exactly. That's right. Now you're thinking Davis. Yeah. Oh, man. How is your day going today?
It's been pretty solid. Reinstalled Windows on my main computer. Trying to solve some issues with a game, but I guess like it has been a while since I did a clean install of Windows 10, anyways. So that's that's worked out well so far. Work's been pretty light, and did some yoga today as well. Trying to go for a 30-day yoga challenge to help me get back
Okay.
into a regular routine and try and augment with some cardio and some very, very light strength training.
So what is this challenge? How does it work?
It's just it's a self-imposed challenge. There's this YouTube content creator for yoga. So like her channel is Yoga with Adrian or something like that. And
Okay.
today was day 4 of the challenge for me. So just gonna go through it. It's really about just like being active consistently. Because since I got this wrist injury, I've been like pretty inactive. So I'm trying to ease myself back into activity and build a foundation
So
there.
what's been your daily exercise routine, if you have one, for the last month or so, or even after the injury?
Well, I mean, I didn't have anything after the injury. It's just
Okay.
been like a 15-minute stretch routine that I do. It's dynamic and static stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I found worked for me through weight training and dragon boat.
Okay.
And so yeah, like again, before the injury, it was like paddling 3 times a week. It was running, and then after the injury, or like during the injury, which is still until now, nothing really, and then some yoga.
Okay. Yeah, it's important to do some type of daily maintenance, whether it's stretching, which you're doing, or other stuff. Um, yeah, I for the past few weeks, I've had like a daily 1 hour routine. Um, so in track and field in high school, remember we used to do A's and B's, a bunch of
Yeah,
exercises to warm up. So
yeah.
I do a bunch of that, and I also had lunges in there. So I don't know. I guess I do like 10 lunges, I think. Well, I would say like 5 to 7 lunges on each side, forward and then also backward. and kind of do that with all the other exercises, high knees, leg kicks, and so on. And then, I've been doing, walking on all fours, like palm and toes, just going
Yeah.
forward and then coming backward. I think I'm going to
Okay. So
add
like,
side to side at some point. Yeah.
yeah. So I think those are those bear crawls? I think that might be it. If you're on
Yeah.
all
I don't know.
fours.
But I guess you can't do that, right? Because it would be too much pressure on your tendon.
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, like, I was able to do some walking with that. I was able to do some like full arm planks for yoga.
Oh, okay.
So seems okay.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, I do that. And I have this total gym home workout machine thing.
Yeah, I remember seeing it
Um,
in the basement.
oh, yeah. Yeah. So I do that, do like chest exercises, arm exercises, shoulders. Uh, I'm not that strong. So for me, the the weights on there are pretty challenging. So I make use of that. I'm trying to build up to doing push-ups comfortably. I can do them now, but within 2 or 3 push-ups, you can feel the strain. It's not easy. Um, yeah, do that, and then run every 2 or 3 days. Yeah, so yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm always interested to see what other people do with their routines. I'm trying to build up. I'm trying to focus on building up a habit of at least approximately an hour. Um, so I know I do 1 a day workouts basically. It's like an hour workout,
Mm-hmm.
and then hopefully move into 2 a day, like a couple times a week, moving forward.
Nice, man. Yeah, that's a solid goal to set, and it's hard. I guess I shouldn't say it's hard, but I think it's probably easier to under index on physical activity than it is to over index on physical activity.
Like you mean like go too hard? It's easier to not go hard enough than it is to go too hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very easy to like fall out of routine, stop exercising, or just like miss a day than it is to like overtrain and like do too much
right.
in one day.
Yeah, yeah. The toughest thing for me is get like after I wake up, I'm super stiff, and uh, before I sleep, I decide, okay, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna do some stationary cycling, or I'm gonna go for a walk, I'm gonna do some yoga postures. But when you wake up, your body's just not having any of it. It's just like go back to bed,
Yeah,
lie back down. So that's the challenge now. I would like to do a workout as soon as I wake up to get things going. So it works like sometimes. Sometimes I feel enough shame that I do it anyway because nothing's worse than when you decide to do something and then you disappoint yourself. And once you feel enough shame, you're just like, this can't go on. I have to do this.
yeah. I mean that's good. It sucks. That there's that disappointment when you can't, for whatever reason, just follow through on what you committed yourself to. But
Yeah.
that if it precipitates out an action, then at least it's not a wash.
Yeah, you gotta make use of your life as best as you can, whether it's going the way you want or not. If it doesn't, then use it to use it.
Yeah, actively get yourself to a better place.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's good. I think we've done an hour this time. So yeah, thanks
Nice.
again for doing this.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Anytime, man.
Okay.